Coming to you live from Ursprung Gymnasium on the campus of Baldwin Wallace University. This is the Ohio Athletic Conference on BWYellowJackets.com. Alongside Eric Kwiatkowski, I'm Brendan Gulick. The Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets and the first place Ohio Northern Polar Bears in town tonight for the second meeting of the season between the two. Baldwin Wallace hoping that it goes a little better than the first meeting did, although they'd love it if it went the same way it did last time it was in this building. Absolutely.
Well, we're talking about the hottest team in the OAC right now. They've won 7 straight games. They've got 5 different people scoring in double figures, and they shoot as a team over 40% from 3. BW is going to have to guard 1 through 5 to get the job done tonight.
Ohio Northern tied for first place with Marietta, but if the season ended today, they would be the #1 seed by beating Marietta at home earlier. It's the only matchup they've played with the Pioneers so far, and we'll keep our eye on that in the coming couple of weeks. But as it pertains to this matchup tonight, this is a difficult game for BW because of the sheer talent that Ohio Northern has, especially with their starting group.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. This is a game where you find out who BW is as a team. They've got Ohio Northern tonight and John Carroll and Mount Union coming up in the next few weeks. You know, this is where you find out if this team wants to contend in this conference. And like we're going to see, there are only 2 games out of hosting a tournament spot, and only 1 game from dropping out of the tournament. So this is where it's gut check time right now for this team.
It certainly is. BW is kind of on that cusp of do or die time. They could help themselves drastically with a win tonight. You mentioned it. They're playing the top 3 teams in the conference over a 4-game stretch. Of the 4 games, this is game 2. They'll play Otterbein and then John Carroll next week. As it relates to BW, Cam Kuhn has struggled at times, but against Ohio Northern, he's been pretty good, and last year had 37 against the Polar Bears in the OAC tournament.
Yeah, and he actually had one of his better scoring nights against them last time they played, and he had 22 points. Didn't shoot it particularly well, but he was able to be aggressive and get the job done and lead the team in scoring eventually. So hopefully he has another great game tonight.
When these teams last met on this floor, it was the 4-5 matchup of the OAC tournament last year. BW was down by 4 points, 83-79, with 16 seconds left, and they ripped off 7 straight points, including what was essentially a game-winning 3 with 5 seconds to go. Senior Zach Warner hit it last year, and the Yellow Jackets stunned Ohio Northern, finishing their season 12-14. BW went on to play in the semifinal round, hoping for another good game of that caliber here tonight. We'll take a quick timeout, and when we come back, we're going to check in with assistant coach Brian Schmidt, and we'll have the national anthem and starting lineups. Opening tip right around the corner. It's the Yellow Jackets and the Polar Bears next on BWYellowJackets.com. Pre-game coverage of the Yellow Jackets continues tonight after arguing. Feels like that every single night at this point. And Brian, you've got the #1 team in the conference coming in Ohio Northern after going to Marietta in the last contest. Marietta is obviously having a good year, and while these 2 teams are tied for first place, Northern beat them, so they, at the moment, have the tiebreaker. But you've played Ohio Northern already. It's been a challenging stretch at times. Let's talk specifically about Ohio Northern. What do you like about that team?
Well, I think to start, you know, they've changed it up a little bit from last year. Instead of going to the, well, I say traditional, it's not very traditional anymore, but they're just going 1-post look. They're going 4 guards. You know, their 4-man's basically a stretch 4 who was a guard for them last year. And besides their 5-man, they've got all the other 4 guys that they started are shooting 40% from 3. So they're spreading you out. They're shooting the 3-ball in well. Not that they haven't, but this year specifically, they're really spreading you out. And he's doing a good job giving them a lot of freedom. They don't run a lot of sets. They're a motion team. I think a little bit different from the first time we played them. They're throwing it inside a little bit more, so we've got to be ready for that and be ready to kind of sink and get in the gaps when we can. But this is a good team. You know, their 3 starting guards are all seniors. They've been through the battles, and you know, despite what they finished last year, every one of their games was close, and they're finding ways to win it with their seniors this year.
You've talked a lot about their guards. Does their size bother you at all?
It does. Obviously, their center, Bruns. First of all, they're bringing a guy off the bench this year that was a first-team All-OAC guy, and Aaron Thress. And you know, for whatever reason, coach wanted to go smaller, and it seems to be working for them. But Bruns is a big guy. He's long. He's 6'8". He basically plays a one-man zone. He's gonna stand in the middle of the paint and try to block shots and try to bother us. So we're aware of that, and we've kind of got some different things we're hoping we can counter that with. But yeah, their size, you know, Bruns alone is a guy that kind of funnel everything into him and let him clean up the mess defensively, and he does a really good job. He's leading the league in block shots. Big, strong, athletic, and bouncy kid. So yeah, he's definitely a guy that we've got our eye on, and we hopefully counter with.
Obviously, the season hasn't gone the way you've wanted it to. That doesn't mean there haven't been some high points. But when you're going through a stretch where things feel like, you know, the losses start to pile up or the days start to get a little longer, how do you keep the morale of guys, especially as an assistant coach, where there maybe isn't that same presence of approaching a head coach? There's a little bit of an easier approachability factor. How do you try to keep the morale of the team high during difficult times?
Well, I think, you know, that's fortunately for me, that's kind of my personality. You know, everybody can, you know, be a rah-rah guy and give every quote in the book when things are going well, but you kind of find out who a person is when things aren't going well, and that's something that, you know, sticks with me over the years. Obviously, this is my third year coaching college, but I've been coaching or playing basketball my entire life, and I try to be that guy that not only, you know, says that, but actually lives it. When things are going tough, you know, let's roll up our sleeves and let's figure out a way to correct them. And going back to Tom, you know, Coach Heil, he does a great job. You know, he's a guy that's not going to give in and not going to give up, and so I think it works well for us. We both kind of have that approach where, you know, there's 6 games left. We're 2 games out of 4th place. We can still host an OAC tournament game now. You know, things have got to change. We've got to do things better. But we're watching film, not only on our opponents, we're watching film on ourselves, and probably a little bit more than we'd like to at this point in the season. But we know that there's 6 games left in the regular season, and you know, starting tonight, let's go 1-0 tonight and see what Saturday brings.
Talked to Cam earlier this week. Obviously, he's a leader on the team. He had a tremendous season last year, but he's had his fair share of struggles this year. Nonetheless, said tonight feels like the kind of night where things can start to turn. He really believed that this was the kind of game where you could get on the right track. Is there something about the way he's been approaching his game and his craft lately that makes you buy in?
I think with Cam, you know, the biggest thing is between his ears. You know, he knows that. Everybody knows that. You know, he's another guy. He's first team all-conference last year. He scored 1,000 points like 4 games into his junior year. That's just unheard of. So, I mean, he can score the basketball, and he's going to get it turned around. In terms of what's changed, you know, 6 a.m. after a loss, you know, he's the first guy in here as the cross-country coach, you know, and baseball coach. They got early morning practice, and they're saying, man, Cam's in there at 6 a.m. already, getting shots up. And so he's our hardest worker. There's no doubt about that. So it's not because of a lack of putting in the time or anything like that. I think with him, it's just a mentality thing, and he's got to believe in himself, and there's no reason for him not to. So I think once he gets that figured out, which I think we've been really trying to coach him up on, is just play the next play and play one possession at a time, and don't let what effect happened at one end of the court affect what happened on the other. And I think he's starting to finally buy into that approach instead of just trying to do it all himself and be the man. Let the game come to him. And you know, I think that's where you'll see a big difference is his mentality, his approach, his body language, because he's certainly got the ability.
It's the Polar Bears and the Yellow Jackets coming up next. Thanks for your time and good luck.
Thanks, Brandon.
We'll have more after this timeout on BWYellowJackets.com. Tonight's Yellow Jacket basketball game brought to you by American International. When you require a company with proven performance, rely on American International. Baldwin Wallace and Ohio Northern ready to go, so let's give you the starting lineups First for the visiting Polar Bears and head coach Rich Bensman. At guard, a senior from Van Wert in Western Ohio, Joey Hurlis. Senior guard from Lima. He went to Lima Senior High, Devin Allen. He's a terrific young player and makes another start tonight, his 13th of the year. Connor Baker, his senior counterpart in the backcourt. Connor Baker is from Ada. He makes his 16th start of the season. Joey DiOrio, the junior guard from Columbus. He went to Bishop Watterson High School, makes the start. And Ryan Bruns, a sophomore from Chickasaw. He's a sophomore forward and is easily the most commanding presence in the middle of the paint. Ohio Northern, again, led by Rich Bensman, and they're riding a 7-game winning streak in conference. First place at 10-2. For the Yellow Jackets, they're 9-10 overall, and they'll send senior point guard Zach Brandy out to start things from Hudson High School. Sophomore guard Jay Battle, who is arguably BW's most complete athlete. Battle makes his 15th start of the season. Tyler Colombo had a tremendous game against Ohio Northern in January, so he makes the start as a freshman forward. Cam Kuhn, the junior guard from Vermillion, we've talked about him and sung his praises plenty. And Jake Featherolf, the junior forward from Norwalk, makes yet another start, his 20th of the season. Tom Heil, the second-year head coach, along with Brian Schmidt and Keonta Howell. Scott Gooden, Alan Thispin, and Sean Manuel are our officials tonight. So it's Brandy, Battle, Colombo, Kuhn, and Featherolf against Hurlis, Allen, Baker, DiOrio, and Bruns at the outset. Glad to have you on board tonight alongside Eric Kwiatkowski. I'm Brendan Gulick. Eric, this is one of the more anticipated games on BW's home schedule all season long. What are you looking for here at the outset from the Yellow Jackets?
Well, I'm looking for them to be very pesky on defense. This is a team that shoots the ball extremely well, and they're very efficient on the offensive end. So anything you can do to get them out of their rhythm, make them force bad shots, I think holds in their favor tonight.
Nate Berger and Aaron Thress, two of the top 4 scorers for the Polar Bears, come off the bench. This is a deep, balanced Ohio Northern team, but it's the Jackets that win the opening tip. And off we go in Berea. BW in white, Ohio Northern in black and burnt orange. BW wants to come out with a lot of energy right at the outset, as Cam Kuhn would love to get going. If you just joined us, we referenced it in the pregame show. The last time these two teams met on this floor, as Colombo's 3 clanks too long, was the OAC tournament last year, and BW, with one of their most thrilling wins in recent memory, came from behind with less than 30 seconds left. They scored 7 straight points to knock Ohio Northern out of the quarterfinal round of that tournament. Offensively, kind of a 4-guard, 1-post presence look for Ohio Northern as Baker steps into a 3, and it's pure. In fact, so pure the net went back up through the rim, and so we have a brief stoppage just for a moment.
Well, you were just referencing that guard-heavy lineup. You saw the way they were able to move the ball around the perimeter, make that extra pass to get an easy shot for Baker.
Baker 41% from behind the arc. Nate Berger and Joey DiOrio also very good from deep. Kuhn playing with a sleeve on his left knee tonight. That's new for him. It's too long on his 3 ball, and BW retreats back defensively. Cam had a lengthy conversation with him earlier this week, and he said he feels good, so maybe the sleeve is helping that be the case after DiOrio misfires on a 3. But no reason to have any concern about Cam's left knee, at least at this point.
Absolutely not. I mean, he's a competitor either way. Even if something was hurting him, I wouldn't doubt he would come out here and play his game.
So BW's missed a couple of 3s on their opening 2 possessions. They'll consider another one, working it inside. Colombo, left baseline jump shot, no good. Ohio Northern, a team that quite honestly might be the most athletic group in the OAC, and they're having a tremendous season because of that guy, Ryan Bruns. Beautiful post move, and Ohio Northern has a 5-0 cushion. Battle thought he saw an opening in the left lane, instead goes to Colombo. Now Brandy, a spot triple, and he hit it. So the Yellow Jackets get the monkey off their back, and their first bucket is in 2 minutes into the game. Working the top of the arc, Devin Allen passes off. They work to the right-hand corner. DiOrio gives free. Allen drives and pulls up. No good, but the rebound for Bruns. Second chance life. Beautiful feet underneath Baker for 2 more. Ohio Northern leads by 4, and Baker has 5 of the first 7 for the Polar Bears. Mike Kaminsky waits to check in. He's a veteran presence as Brandy goes high off the window. He's got all 5 of BW's opening 5 points, but it quickly goes the other way, and Ryan Bruns lays it in. That's what Ohio Northern is capable of doing, scoring very quickly. Their athleticism, they can get in the open court and run things. Tyler Colombo tries a deep 2 and puts one home.
It looks to me like Ohio Northern's kind of leaving the freshman Colombo open, daring him to shoot that 3. He's got to be able to make those if they're going to contend tonight.
You're right, he's had 2 open shots and he's passed up a third. This is Allen banging a triple over Colombo. It's back to a 5-point lead for Ohio Northern. 2 of 4 from deep for the Polar Bears already. Jackets have hit 1 of 3. Battle wants to try and change that, and his rainbow 3-pointer misfired. Foul on the floor, and I think it's going to stay on. No, I beg your pardon. It is on Colombo. I thought maybe Colombo drew the foul. That's his first personal and the first foul of the game.
Yeah, Tom Heil's going to make the quick change to Kaminsky here, kind of the veteran presence that can easily knock down that corner 3. So I think a good change for Heil here in the early going.
And Michael Quiring also comes on, replacing Jay Battle. Nice crowd still filing in here at Ursprung Gymnasium. Final 3 weeks of the regular season, and the Yellow Jackets could make up some ground quickly if they pick up a couple of wins. They are still alive in terms of hosting an OAC tournament game. They need some help. Allen chucks up another one, and he buries it again. Heads up. Devin Allen looks good early on. He's got 6. It's 15-7 Polar Bears. Quiring, the freshman, back outside. He gets the ball in the right corner, raises for 3, and swishes it. Looks like we may be in for a shooting clinic. Quiring comes off the bench and immediately cashes in. Even though he has come off the bench more often than not, he has definitely made significant contributions this year. 5-point game, they work over to Allen. He'll shoot another triple. Just off the mark, but Bruns, when he jumps in the air with his arms straight up, there's not many players in the conference that are going to get a height advantage against him.
Yeah, it's going to take a collaborative effort from this team to box out. Maybe it'll take 1 or 2 guys on Bruns just to get him off the glass. So it's going to be a collaborative effort.
Quiring waited for Bruns to leave his feet and then drew the foul when Devin Allen nudged him from behind. That's Allen's team first against Ohio Northern. 7-point game. The Polar Bears have hit 7 of their first 10 shots from the floor. Ohio Northern has gotten off to a really nice start as Michael Quiring misfires on his first free throw attempt. 7 consecutive wins for Ohio Northern, including victories over BW and Marietta at the start of this streak. They beat Mount Union, who's a good team in conference this year. And they're coming off a tight win over Capital in their contest on Saturday. Quiring splits the pair, so he's got 4. Allen works it into the post. Nice move from DiOrio for 2 more. It's an 8-point lead for Ohio Northern, matching their largest of the game on DiOrio's first bucket. Quiring gets the high screen and then rolls it over to the right. Brandy from the keyhole looking around. Ohio Northern's energy early in the game, impressive. Kaminsky thought he could go up and over, and he does. Polar Bears quickly get back up on the offensive end. Kaminsky's first points, by the way. Ball fake from Baker. Now he drives on Kuhn. We'll need some help. Good defense. Bruns comes into the high post. Decides to raise, and it's too flat. Cam Kuhn clears it for Baldwin Wallace. A 3 would cut the lead in half for Ohio Northern. No shot. The foul is on Baldwin Wallace.
It looked like a moving
illegal screen.
Yep.
It's on Kaminsky, his first, team second. Here comes Alex Nara replacing Featherolf. Ohio Northern, look, this is a really good team, but sometimes they don't use much of their bench. You're going to see these 5 guys play a ton. They really only play 7 or 8 as Bruns nearly got fouled as he put it in.
Well, when you shoot 70% from the floor in the early going, it's kind of hard to take them off.
Alex Nara for 3. Too long. Kuhn gets the rebound, and he does a great job using the backboard to put it in. Wide open 3 for Allen. It was dead on, but too long, and Bruns cleans it up. I've been watching Ohio Athletic Conference basketball for nearly a decade. This is easily the most impressive Ohio Northern team that I've seen. They are outstanding. And they've gotten off to a tremendous start. 9 of 14 from the floor, and in some cases, they're making it look easy. Quiring for 3. It rattles away. A team that went 12 and 14 a year ago, largely with the same roster. They had some differences, but the core of this team was still there.
Well, you can tell the conditioning and the pace has just been way too much for BW to handle, especially down low against Bruns. He's already got 12 points, excuse me, as BW has to call a timeout.
That up and under move was first class from Ryan Bruns. 10-point lead for the Polar Bears. We are almost 8 minutes into the game on BWYellowJackets.com. Baldwin Wallace burns a 30-second timeout, almost 8 minutes in the game, to try and slow down what has been a really nice start to the game for the Ohio Northern Polar Bears. Brendan Gulick and Eric Kwiatkowski with you, and Ohio Northern's big man has made a big difference. Ryan Bruns, 6 of 7 from the floor. He's got 12 points and 3 rebounds already. Baldwin Wallace draws a foul as Brandy tried to control the ball. It's hard to believe that Ohio Northern is playing this efficiently. And remember what they said as Jay Battle comes back in for Brandy. Remember the fact that Aaron Thress last year was a first-team all-conference player. He's not even part of the starting 5 right now.
He hasn't even checked in the first 8 minutes of the game. They've played 5 guys so far.
Well, why go with something different when this has been so efficient?
Absolutely.
Nara too short on his jump shot from the left elbow, and it is magnifying Baldwin Wallace's mistakes when Ohio Northern shoots it at 70% from the floor. Working into the post, Bruns slings it across. A dribble drive, pull up, down to Bruns again, and he missed from close to the rim. Kaminsky grabs the rebound. Bruns 6 of 8 from the floor. Kaminsky's three-pointer blocked by DiOrio. Baldwin Wallace has 2 offensive rebounds, but they are out-rebounded 8-4 already, and it's showing as DiOrio purely puts one in. 5 for him. It's a 13-point game. Cam Kuhn hasn't done much at all, just 2 points early on. He'll try a 3 and bury it. Cam Kuhn with 5, and the Yellow Jackets trail by 10. BW shooting the ball okay, but not keeping pace with Ohio Northern.
I mean, defensively, it's just a matchup nightmare. You have Quiring against, I think that's Joey DiOrio. I mean, there's at least a 6-inch difference down on that post. He stands no chance.
Well, and Quiring didn't even contest the shot. It was just a simple jumper. Jay Battle knew he was in trouble. It turns into a Nara chuck 3, no good. BW is going to have to start working the ball inside and trying to figure out a way to take Bruns out of the equation. Well, he leads the conference in blocked shots, but too many misses from the outside. This game will get out of control early. DiOrio fouled after getting his own rebound. About to see a couple of new bodies check in for both sides, and it'll be the first substitutions that Ohio Northern has made all game. halfway through the first half. DiOrio from the stripe. And the first shot is up and good. You know, the thing that strikes me most about this team from Ohio Northern right now is just their level of confidence. It's as if they've come out right away and just expected that they're going to win the game, and they're shooting every single shot as purely as you can put it in.
Well, that's what you get when you win 7 straight. Your confidence is extremely high. You're moving the ball. You're getting other people involved, and it just comes naturally at this point.
Aaron Thress and Nate Berger, the 2 off the bench. Berger, the team's leading scorer, and he doesn't start. He's only started 5 of the 15 games he's played this year. It's 32-18 at the moment. Wes Gerhardt also has a career-high 10 points against Ohio Northern. He's got the ball on the right wing with 5 to shoot. Back to Featherall. Kyle Nader just checked back in and had his pocket picked. Hurlis needs some help, and Nader forces a turnover. Up the floor to Gerhardt. And the pass was too far in front of him. Colombo in the low post, trying to turn around on Thress. Instead, Nader for 3. Colombo gets the offensive rebound and put back. Back to a 12-point contest. Devin Allen hit a couple of threes early on, neither of which hit the rim on their way down as DiOrio shoots in rhythm. Off to the right, but an offensive board for Thress. Look at the way Berger just attacks the can and puts it home.
You talked about confidence. I mean, he's nowhere near the tallest guy on the floor, but he just went into the paint and got the job done.
Ohio Northern right now is playing on a different level. 8.5 minutes to go in the first half as the Yellow Jackets have to get going. Gerhardt in the left corner, works it back up top. Jay Battle, he's the kind of guy that likes to take control, and he scores. 34-22, BW's hit 9 of 19. They're shooting the ball fine, but Ohio Northern has 10 second chance points, and they've only had 8 misses on 22 shots. They have scored basically all but 3 times down the floor. That was an accidental trip, and a foul is called against BW. It had Tom Heil a little frustrated.
Yeah, probably one of the best defensive possessions we've seen from the Jackets so far, and unfortunately, Ohio Northern's going to get another chance here.
Well, it's on Colombo, and that's his second, so he'll grab some bench. Brandy takes a spot, so the Jackets go small. Looks like Hurlis got banged up a little bit, so he checks out for a moment. Baker on the left side of the floor with a 12-point lead. Ohio Northern trying to develop as well as they can during the regular season, knowing that they've got much larger goals in mind this year. Berger gives it away, a couple passes, 3-point attempt, good for Allen. 37-22, Allen's got 3 threes. Largest lead of the game for Ohio Northern. That's their 5th 3-ball of the first half. Battle, hesitation, pulls up and swishes it. Well, in order to compete tonight, the Jackets have to shoot well because Ohio Northern is on fire. And a poor pass from Berger is one of the rare first half mistakes, just the 2nd turnover for the Polar Bears. 7 minutes to go in the first half, Ohio Northern by 12. Battle explodes to the rim, and his up and under move was creative but ineffective. Nice ball control from Berger in the forecourt. Allen on the left wing, feeds to DiOrio. He wants a deep 3. Unbelievable! Devin Allen's hit 4 threes, and the Yellow Jackets trail by 15. Full timeout called for by BW. 6:35 left in the opening half, and Ohio Northern is en fuego. 6 of 11 from 3. They're shooting it better than 65%. Back in a moment in Berea. Baldwin Wallace basketball brought to you by the Oriole Cafe, a great place for sports, located at 294 North Rocky River Drive in Berea. Just a few minutes here from campus. We appreciate their sponsorship of Yellow Jacket Athletics. 15-point affair in Berea, and Ohio Northern is off to a scorching start. They've hit 2/3 of their shots, 16 of 24, and they have dominated in basically every statistical category, running out to a 15-point lead as Kyle Nader gets to the can and puts it in with a free throw coming. Kyle Nader has come off the bench tonight, and actually I really like his energy even in the first couple minutes that he played. He made a steal on this end of the floor defensively, tried to help the transition game, and now he's attacking the glass on the offensive end. I think the Yellow Jackets need to try to take this personally.
Yeah, well, you talked about it. Jay Battle, one of the best athletes on this team, but Kyle Nader's not far behind. He's an athletic guy, definitely has some bounce in his step off that bench, so a great decision by Tom Heil to put him in so far.
Baker's triple didn't go, and DiOrio grabs the offensive board. Is put back, misfired. While Ohio Northern doesn't have Bruns on the floor, the Jackets much more able to grab offensive rebounds. And certainly better able to box out when the big fella at 6'8" is not out there. All right, Cam Kuhn misses a three. Here's a transition play. And that is an offensive foul. Connor Baker went barreling into Quiring. That's the 4th foul on Ohio Northern. All 4 fouls belong to players on the floor. Allen, Baker, DiOrio, and Berger. Jackets down a dozen. Getting toward the late part of the first half. Nader circling around as they pass the ball to the right wing. Quiring looking for a spot where he could step up big. Instead, it's Nader, 18-footer, pure. 40-30. Nader has a handful. BW tries to get across the floor quickly. Thrests in the paint. Give him 2. His first basket.
We talked about the depth of this team. You have a former first-team All-OAC player coming off the bench. It just speaks volume to the depth of this team as we see Brandy hit another 3. That's why he's the 3-point percentage leader in the conference right now. You can't leave him open.
Big shot for Zach Brandy.
BW going to a 2-3 zone here.
DiOrio's 3 is blocked by Nader. Defensive energy starting to pick up a little bit for the Yellow Jackets. Like Kaminsky replaces Jake Featheroff on the floor. Again, we haven't seen Ryan Bruns in several minutes, and he has been unstoppable. He's at 6 of 8. Devin Allen, 4 of 7 threes. They both have a dozen. BW down 9. They've cut it to single digits. Kuhn on the left half of the floor. He had 37 against Ohio Northern the last time these two teams met in Berea. Deflected a couple times. Nader behind the back pass. Kaminsky can't capitalize, but Kuhn's putback is good.
Not the prettiest offensive execution, but we'll take the bucket either way.
7-2 run has cut this to a much more manageable 7-point game. 3-ball right wing. Allen's got 5 of them. Devin Allen makes it a 10-point affair.
Coming into this game, he was their 4th best three-point shooter percentage-wise. Probably not going to be the case after tonight.
This goes to show their talent and depth as Brandy's left-handed finger roll layup fell short. Another in-rhythm three. He is on fire! 6 of them, and they've hardly hit the rim.
Even Tom Hiles in disbelief over there, throwing his hands up.
What are you going to do? You
Absolutely.
Can't guard that. 7 feet from behind the three-point arc, and the kid's not hitting anything. Cam Kuhn airballs it. Brandy tries to crash the rebound. It was dumb luck. Quiring's for 3. And 1!
Well, if anything, it's been a very exciting offensive first half.
Ohio Northern decided they were going to put together a challenging schedule this year. So they opened the year with 2 teams that made the NCAA tournament, Alma and Denison. In fact, they played each other in the opening round of the tournament last year. They lost to both schools, but they were both competitive games. Then they thumped Defiance, who's had a tough year, as Quiring completes the 4-point play, a rare one at that. Then they hosted Wisconsin Whitewater and lost by 15 to a team that won the national title just a couple of years ago. And Wisconsin Whitewater's 3rd in the WIAC this year. There's a foul away from the basketball on Thress that sends it back the other way. So believe it or not, this team actually got off to a 1-3 start. Then they got into conference and started getting on a roll with a win against Capital and a win at Wilmington. They lost an 8-point game at Mount Union. They beat John Carroll. They won a non-conference game against Lynchburg before dropping 2 big non-conference games against Transylvania and Trine, 2 other teams that might be tournament bound this year. So Ohio Northern's had their challenges, but tonight they look unbeatable. Yet it's a 9-point game, and we're still late in the first half. Allen wants a 7th one. Somebody covered Devin Allen. 21 in the first half. He's hit 7 of 10 three-pointers.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like this.
A foul puts a Yellow Jacket free throw situation in order. It's Cam Kuhn to the stripe. Every time BW answers, they're keeping the game competitive. And again, credit the Jackets at shooting the ball at a good clip. They've hit 15 of 30. Usually that's good enough. In fact, they've hit 6 first half three-pointers. Usually that's just fine.
Yeah, well, it's keeping them in this game at this point. I don't think anyone could have expected this. I mean, it's just been an offensive showcase for Ohio Northern so far.
And again, Ryan Bruns still on the bench. Up and good. 51-41. Cam Kuhn has 9. It's been a fairly slow start for him, but he's coming around a little bit. Allen spinning away. This is Berger. In the post, Thress backing down Kaminsky, and he muscles in 2 more.
That's the unfortunate thing about Devin Allen shooting the ball as well as he is right now. You can't really help Kaminsky on Thress.
Well, he'll shoot a 3 here, and Kaminsky capitalizes from dead on. It's not even that defense is optional tonight, it's that the offenses are literally unguardable. Some of these shots are going down from so far beyond the three-point arc. Quiring decides he's going to rip one away. Final minute of the first half. On the hesitation drive, the freshman point guard can't capitalize, but it's off of Ohio Northern. This is gut check time for BW. They were down 15 in their own building to a good team, but they were on the verge of getting dealt a tough hand early in the game, and I think the Yellow Jackets deserve a lot of credit for the way they've stayed in this one.
Absolutely. They've responded pretty much with their own. As Fedorov misses a bunny at the rim, they've really responded well. I think, they could have laid down and taken the beating that Ohio Northern could have given them, but they're easily in this game. I mean,
Bruns, I guess, was fouled for a moment. I thought he may have traveled. It's on Fedorov, his first, team 5th. Yellow Jackets still have a foul to give in the final 33 seconds. Nearly halftime, the shot clock resets, and there's about a 3-second difference, so Ohio Northern can wait for a while if they'd like. A first half that's seen 16 combined three-pointers. Incredible. Burles hands it off to Allen. Allen was not called for a double dribble. 5 seconds to shoot it. Berger drives, no. Still loose. Fedorov throws it all the way up the floor. He must have just lost track of the clock because now there's still 2 seconds left. Because adrenaline got the best of him. See if Ohio Northern can get off a last-second look. And I think Rich Bensman might be asking if there's any reason why time should be put back on. It was close.
Yeah.
And that ball actually hit the steel pipe. They throw it up the floor. Bruns bobbles. He does get it off in time and cannot bank it in. Ohio Northern 53, Baldwin Wallace 44, and it's adjustment time for the Yellow Jackets. They shot the ball fine in the first half, 45, almost 46%. But when you give up 60% and you give up 9 first-half threes, that's not a recipe for success. Ohio Northern has come into this building and played very well right at the outset. So it's a 9-point game at halftime. We'll be back with the second half here in about 15 minutes on BWYellowJackets.com. just about ready to start the second half as Ohio Northern and Baldwin Wallace take the hard court once more after our 15-minute intermission. And the first half was all about the Polar Bears. Devin Allen hit 7 threes. Ryan Bruns hit 6 of 9 shots from the paint. The two combined for 33 of the 53. Ohio Northern shot at nearly 60% in the first half, and they have dominated this game so far. Eric, truthfully, Baldwin Wallace probably fortunate to be down only 9.
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely pick your poison between Allen and Berger in the first half. They just have to get better defensive position overall, and you know, hopefully that'll lead to some missed shots, and they can hopefully get after it on the offensive end like they did in the first half.
Well, Hurlis starts the second half with a miss from the free throw line on that jump shot. See if Featherolf can get things going. Decided to fake the shot instead. Brandy's a senior. He's going to be one of the guys the Yellow Jackets need to rely on in tough times. Shot missed, and so the Yellow Jackets go back defensively. You better believe Devin Allen is going to be basically hugged the rest of the night. Brandy contests it, and Allen threw up a miss. BW pushing the pace. Kaminsky, Kuhn, Featherolf, Brandy, and Battle out there for BW at the outset of the second half. Kuhn for 3. No good. He shot 17 free throws in the OAC tournament against Ohio Northern last year, and I don't know if he's been that aggressive at any point really this season, but man, it would be nice to see him get to the line in the second half as Bruns picks up right where he left off with an easy bucket. Kuhn on the far side, tries to find some room. Battle comes to the top of the arc. Looking for a mismatch. Battle wants a 3, and it swirls away. Tough break. He got off a good look. On the right side, a pump fake and a drive, and Diorio scores on the up and under. Joey Diorio scores 2 more. He's got 9.
They really do not let up. Scoring can come from pretty much any of these 5 guys. You got to be able to hug your man and get it done individually to have a chance.
Cam Kuhn trying to back down a defender, and he got fouled. Hurlis was all over him, and Kuhn will go to the free throw line here. So the Jackets are down 13. Their largest deficit of the game was 15 points. They trailed 40-25, and from that point through the rest of the first half, well, they competed pretty hard, and BW was able to cut into the lead a little bit. But misses from the free throw line at any point all game are going to be costly, especially this one here. Featherolf leaves the floor. Kyle Nader back out there. Kuhn splits the pair. Well, look how fast Ohio Northern moves the ball all the way up the floor, even on a turnover. Their 5th turnover of the game.
Yeah, with Featherolf sitting down, they figured Bruns would have the mismatch down low, and they almost got it to him.
Battle picks up the ball in the backcourt, conserving as many precious seconds as he can. Kaminsky's hit a 3 ball from the top of the arc. Great find, though, from Nader to Kuhn underneath. Cam just slipped behind the back of the defense, and he's got an even dozen. First Yellow Jacket into double figures, Cam Kuhn. Bruns working on Kaminsky, bobbled the ball. Baker got going early, and he lost the basketball. Kyle Nader on the steal. He tucks it and scores. Beautiful move from Nader.
I'll tell you, he has been the boost that the Yellow Jackets have needed off the bench. He's come in with defensive energy and the ability to get to the rim. It's been great to see him succeed so far tonight.
A foul on the floor. The Yellow Jackets are going to need a lot more of that effort on the defensive end. So they bring in their freshman bulldog, Michael Quiring, who plays with as much energy defensively as anybody.
Yep, and they'll put him on Devin Allen. You said it. He'll have to hug him basically the rest of the way.
Allen and Baker, along with Hurlis, the 3 guards. Hurlis in the corner. Behind the back pass, it caught DiOrio kind of by surprise. Allen has not scored yet in the second half, but his 21-point outburst in the first half, one of the most impressive halves we've seen by any opposition all year. Quiring for 3. No good, it popped free. Cam Kuhn tried to chase down the rebound, and it was last touched by Ohio Northern. So the Yellow Jackets with a fresh shot clock to work with. This Ohio Northern team with wins in conference this season over Marietta and John Carroll. They are easily the biggest surprise in the Ohio Athletic Conference this basketball season. Devin Allen picks up his second personal. It's the team's second of the second half. This team is absolutely for real and has conference title aspirations. And it's more than just a dream for those in Ada.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They got everything you could ask for a championship team. They play with pace. They're very efficient offensively. As we see Nader force up a shot there.
8-point game, early second half. BW hanging in there, but they still got a long battle. In the right corner, Baker back up top. Hurlis, a shifty young player, looking into the paint. Haven't seen much of Berger or Aaron Tress. Jump shot good from Allen just inside the top of the perimeter.
That's his first shot inside that three-point line the whole game.
The whole game, you're right.
Yeah.
But he made it count. Kaminsky thought about the step back, but that split second of hesitation cost him. Jackets are still shooting it fine. From behind the arc, they have not shot it well, though. Cam Kuhn, deep 2, nothing but net. It's an 8-point affair. BW is shooting 29% from deep, 7 of 24. They've given up 9 of 18. Bruns turns around quickly in the front of the rim, unkind. Nader with heart crashing the rebound.
Nice job by Kaminsky, really forcing Bruns out of the restricted area in that circle. That's where he usually likes to do his dirty work, but nice job of him to get him out of position.
Battle just lulled Allen to sleep and found an opening as he went through the paint. It's a 6-point game. BW hasn't been this close in a long time. Just a 2-possession deficit. Baker feeds Bruns. Kaminsky, one of the veteran defenders on this team. Hurlis fakes, drives, and uses Bruns as a screener to score. Crafty play. First points of the game for Joey Hurlis, the senior from Van Wert. Battle right back to the rim, 2 more. Battle continues to fight hard here in the second half. 9 points for him. Hurlis slices his way through the key, banks it in with a right hand. He scored on 2 straight possessions.
Hurlis, usually known as an assist guy. He's actually the all-time career assist leader at ONU, but definitely showing he's got the skill set to score as well.
I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek. When Allen and Baker shoot like they do, that doesn't seem like it would be all that difficult.
Yep.
As Cam Kuhn draws a foul on Hurlis and will shoot free throws, 3 of them coming for the BW sharpshooter. All kidding aside, I mean, Hurlis really is a tremendous point guard, but you just don't see you just don't see anybody shoot the way Ohio Northern has consistently shot the ball all night long.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're talking about being almost 75% of the way through the game, folks, and they're still shooting it almost 60%. That's incredible. Kuhn's first free throw went, the second one no good. He's got one more opportunity here. Nate Berger comes on the floor. Hurlis has a seat. It's Featherolf, Colombo, Nader, Quiring, and Kuhn now for BW. Looks like Wes Gerhardt may check in momentarily. Well, he hits 2 out of 3, so it's back to a 6-point effort. And now Kuhn leaves the floor with Wes Gerhardt taking his spot. Ohio Northern had a couple of big wins in conference, though they've struggled out of the OAC. Part of the reason why they haven't earned a lot of respect nationally yet. Allen fakes, goes back into the corner. Berger underneath, blocked by Colombo. Great trail, but that ball did graze the brown paint underneath the basket, so it stays with Ohio Northern. Nonetheless, this is one of the toughest tests for BW all season. Allen behind the back dribble a couple of times. Over to Baker for 3, contested, no good. Bruns cleans it up. Well, Tom Heil expressed concern earlier this week about Allen's ability to get going as Tyler Colombo missed from 3. He said it kind of jokingly, though I'm sure he was actually dead serious about Allen being a senior. He goes, I will not be sorry to see that kid graduate because he's been so good for Ohio Northern, and tonight is just proving his worth. There, Brandy returns for Kyle Nader. But even though Allen has been so hot tonight, it's been a total team effort from the Polar Bears, who again have only played with 7 guys this evening. Runs underneath, 2 more. It's a 10-point lead for Ohio Northern. Jackets cut it to 6, but that's it. Baldwin Wallace has never led in the game. Colombo thought about the step back. Instead gives to Brandy, who will raise from 3. Quiring was the only white jersey even near a rebound. There were 4 Ohio Northern Polar Bears ready to pull it away. Under the 12-minute mark of the second half as Baker lowers his shoulder into contact and scores anyways. 7 for Baker. Ohio Northern with a 12-point edge. Quiring, great backdoor feed to Colombo. That was a great effort, knowing that the league's leading shot blocker was going to try to swat that one across Bagley Road. Allen to the right half. Nice spin move. Baker to the stripe for 2. That's the second foul on Zach Brandy. First free throw on the way, up and good. Connor Baker from the stripe this year, 71%. Pretty good free throw shooting team overall for Ohio Northern. And the second one is off the mark. So it's an 11-point game. Brandy, nifty move with the left hand, circling all the way from the right to the left side of the floor. And Zach Brandy has 10 points.
Yeah, he used the rim to shield off Bruns' shot blocking ability there.
Brandy having a nice night. Bruns turns around and used the wrong part of the square. Quiring for 3. Back to a 6-point game yet again.
This is where you have to bear down if you're BW. You've gotten within 6 a few times now, but haven't really seen anything go your way at this point. But now's the time where you have to really bear down and get some defensive stops.
Allen nearly slipped at the top of the arc, and that one is out of bounds off of Baldwin Wallace. Brandy's 10 put him in double figures for the 5th time this year. He had 15 at John Carroll in a loss in the crosstown rivalry. But you gotta like the way the Yellow Jackets have played defense here in half number 2. DiOrio bounces into the middle of the paint. Tress is right there. Tress has 6. Again, Ohio Northern has literally played 7 guys. Not a lot of depth needed for the Polar Bears tonight. DiOrio had it jarred free. Brandy picked it. Colombo was there too. Kuhn gives to Gerhardt, a transition triple. Too long. Baker weighing his options. Kuhn picked up DiOrio nicely. BW in a man. They've been there most of the game, but not the entirety. Too much. Tress banks it in, 74-64.
Yeah, Colombo just doesn't have the strength to contend with Tress there.
Cam Kuhn. It was a nice aggressive move, but just a little off target. Allen wants one in transition, and his second half 3 balls have not been kind. He's only got 2 points in the opening 11 minutes after 21 on 7 threes in the first half. But he still leads all scorers with a game-high 23.
If you're BW offensively, I'd really like to see Jake Fedorov get involved more. Still without a point in this game, only 5 rebounds is really uncharacteristic of him.
Colombo steps into a 3, and he's 0 for 2 from beyond the arc. 8.5 minutes to go. The Jackets are still within striking distance. Tress. Again, he is so much stronger than Colombo, but Tyler holding his own, and he jars it free. Great defense. Ohio Northern's had a few more turnovers here in the second half as Kuhn lost the handle. In that first half, the Polar Bears only turned it over 4 times since the break, 4 in their first 12 minutes. Berger finds DiOrio, drives the right lane, and a nice right-handed runner. Well, we've only seen 2 timeouts in this game, both called by BW in the first half. So on top of the fact that it's been played at a quick pace, the clock essentially hasn't stopped very much. Brandy circling around, back to Gerhardt. Quick release. No good. The offensive board for Fedorov. Back to the corner, Brandy again. He makes the second chance count. Timeout. 13 points for Zach Brandy. The timeout called for by the Jackets. It's a 30-second stoppage. 9-point game with 7 and change to go in Berea. Hope you're enjoying our coverage of Yellow Jacket basketball tonight. Of course, the ladies are playing in Ada this evening, and it's a big game between the top 2 teams, arguably, in the OAC on the women's side. Ohio Northern undefeated. They are the 6th-ranked team in the entire country. They've had a tremendous season, 20-0, but the Yellow Jackets fought them awfully hard on this floor, lost a close game, and with just over a minute to go in the first half in Ada, the Jackets trail by 2. So another hard-fought contest at Ohio Northern on the ladies' side. Good luck to them. DiOrio bounces into the paint. Tress working on Kaminsky. That's a much better matchup for Baldwin Wallace. And even though there was a miss, the Jackets commit a foul.
I absolutely agree. Fedorov not having the best of nights defensively, and Kaminsky has really played both Tress and Bruns pretty well. So I like the move by Coach Tom Heil.
Ohio Northern hasn't called the timeout all game. They've loved this pace as DiOrio shakes his head going, that was garbage. But he banks in a 3, and he's got 16. He's laughing at himself as he goes back up the floor. Jay Battle misses from near the rim. Nader, strong pass, Kaminsky a 3. No good. Nader tried to tip it in, and it missed. BW is only connected on 9 of 32 threes. Diorio out of control that time from close to the rim, and it was off. Kaminsky will let it fly. It's good to see him playing at full health tonight as Cam Kuhn goes strong down the baseline and puts it in with 2 hands. 10-point game, timeout Ohio Northern. Cam Kuhn leads Baldwin Wallace with 18 points, 6 of 13 from the floor, and right now it's keeping BW close, but they've got to find a defensive answer for this red-hot Polar Bear group. Back in just a moment for the final 6 minutes of regulation on BWYellowJackets.com. Yellow Jacket basketball continues tonight on their home court. A matchup against the top team in the OAC. They are tied with Marietta for first place, but beat Marietta head-to-head in their only meeting so far, so they would be the #1 seed in the tournament should it have ended last weekend. Mid-range jump shot, no good from Berger. Acquiring and company in transition. I'm Brendan Gulick alongside Eric Kwiatkowski. Hope you're enjoying the game tonight. Jackets are battling hard, but they've got some work to do as Battle passes to Kaminsky. They swing to an open 3, and Acquiring can't connect. Kyle Nader keeps on jumping and tipping the ball like it's volleyball, trying to put it back up and in rather than trying to pull down a rebound. The strategy hasn't worked for him so far.
Nonetheless, I think this is Tom Heil's best group tonight. The defensive prowess of Kaminsky and Nader, along with the shooting of Kuhn and Acquiring, have really, I think, been his best matchups throughout the game. So we'll see how it plays out.
There's no doubt Kaminsky is their best post defender as Nader commits the foul. He's probably the most aggressive defender on the floor right now. Jake Featherolf just hasn't played that well defensively of late, and when Kaminsky's healthy, he's a better matchup for a guy like Bruns. A couple of free throws coming, though, for Aaron Tress, a first-team all-conference performer a year ago, who comes off the bench now. And he misfires on the first. Almost 5 minutes left in the game. Featherolf replaces Nader, so these are basically the two biggest and most physically strong guys.
Yes, I would agree.
And Featherolf and Kaminsky, that'll go play in the low post. Tress splits the pair and makes it an 80-69 game. Kaminsky for 3. I beg your pardon, Cam Kuhn for 3. Kaminsky got the rebound. Now Battle wants a triple. It pops away. A third chance. Kaminsky tried to take it himself. No. Loose at the top. Berger pulls it in. And he's fouled by Jay Battle. Well, the Jackets have had their chances. It's just not going home for them. First foul on Battle tonight. It was kind of a late whistle, but
yeah,
Jay was the only one in the area. And Berger's free throw counts. Again, BW has never led. They trailed by as many as 15 in the first half. They've cut it to 6 a couple of times since the intermission. But it's back now to a comfortable lead. 13 points for Ohio Northern with 4.5 minutes to go. A win tonight for the Polar Bears would eclipse their win total from last year as Kaminsky got fouled on a 3. Ohio Northern finished last season a disappointing 12-14, but you heard assistant coach Brian Schmidt talk about it in the pregame. Even though they were 12-14, many of their losses were really close games, and they're a better team than that would indicate. They've started to put that on people's minds across the OAC this year.
Absolutely, and that along with the strength of schedule that they've played this year just gives them a drastic amount of experience going into both the OAC tournament and hopefully for them the NCAA tournament as well.
Oh, and they've scheduled teams not just all over the region, but from lots of different conferences. Alma plays in the MIAA, as does Trine. Transylvania plays in the Heartland Conference. Denison, right now one of the top teams in the nation. They're 17-2, reigning champions from the North Coast Athletic Conference. So they've done a good job of testing themselves against not just non-conference opponents, but several different conferences in the region. And that will help bolster their regional ranking if they could start to put some things together here late in the season. It's a 10-point game with about 4 minutes to go. Quiring's three does not cut into the deficit, but Tress with an uncharacteristic turnover. Costly mistake for Ohio Northern. Gives BW the basketball back under their own hoop.
Still plenty of time here for the Jackets. If they can get a few stops and maybe knock down a couple shots, they're right back into this game. Don't count them out quite yet.
Devin Allen has been largely ineffective in the second half. Cam Kuhn, an acrobatic shot. He's going back to the stripe. It's the second foul on Bruns. Cam Kuhn to the free throw line. He's found a home there. He's started to get there more in the second half, 5 of 7. And the first free throw's up and good. By the way, it is halftime now at the ladies' game, which we mentioned a few moments ago. Ohio Northern leads 32-26 at halftime. This game will probably conclude before the second half of that one starts. Kuhn hits both free throws, 74 for now for BW. They're hanging in there, but need some stops here late. Allen with only 2 points in the second half. Works to the left side. This is Bruns in the paint, and Kaminsky fouled him behind. Allen has 23, Bruns with 18. Joey Diorio's had a nice second half. He's got 16 after Diorio only had 9 at the intermission. Bruns couldn't find the bottom of the net. 3.5 minutes to go. BW still in it. Featherall for three. No good. Bruns pulls in the rebound. Can't misfire on too many more of those open looks. BW now shooting slightly less than 25% from behind the three-point line. And Ohio Northern's only hit 1 3 in the second half after burying 9 in the first half. So the defensive effort is definitely increased for the Jackets. Allen fades away and misses short with a dwindling shot clock, but Tress is there and he puts it in with a right hand.
The combination of Bruns and Tress down low is just way too much to handle at this point for the Jackets.
Acquiring a quick bucket, back to an 8-point game. At some point, though, BW is going to need a couple of stops.
A couple, yeah.
2.5 minutes to go. Northern has 5 timeouts left, BW with 3. BW at the limit defensively. The next foul would put Northern at the free throw line. Polar Bears have 1 foul to give. 9 seconds to shoot for Allen on the left side. He wants a 3. That one was bricked up and it was ugly. Rich Bensman not thrilled. 2 minutes to play. Acquiring back up top. Kaminsky for 3. Another miss. 9 for 38 from 3-point range tonight. BW's hitting their free throws, but they're resorting to their bread and butter of just chucking it up from behind the 3-point line late in the game.
Well, it's tough when you have a guy like Bruns down low, which is the conference leader in blocks. You want to almost succeed from the 3-point line. That's where you're going to get most of your shots, and unfortunately it just hasn't fallen for him.
Second foul on Cam Kuhn, and Hurlis will go to the free throw line. Some men's scores from around the conference. Capital leads Heidelberg by 3 early in the second half. Muskingum is blowing out Wilmington by 15 midway through the second half. Marietta leads Mount Union 63-50. 9:30 left in the game, and the lopsided score in the conference tonight. John Carroll 83, Otterbein 53. Under 8 minutes to go in regulation. So the Blue Streaks, Polar Bears, and Pioneers, the top 3 teams in the league, all with leads in their respective games. Hurlis hits them both. It's now 86-76. And the Polar Bears lead by 10 with a minute and a half to play. A win for Ohio Northern would move them to 11-2 in conference play. Kuhn for 3. It's just not BW's night. Bruns pulls in yet another rebound. And BW has to start fouling. All right, the rest of the schedule for Ohio Northern in their remaining contests. They play Muskingum and Heidelberg in their next 2 contests, both at home. Then they play at John Carroll. They host Otterbein and finish the regular season at Marietta. And that's a huge game because that could determine who the top seed in the tournament is.
I was just going to say that that game's going to hold a lot of merit to both those teams, and most likely the winner being the conference champion. So
a week from Saturday, Ohio Northern will play at John Carroll. That's also a big game because the Blue Streaks are just 1 game behind in conference. Everybody is trying to track down the Polar Bears, though. Bruns pulls in yet another rebound. He's been a machine tonight underneath the rack. How about 18 points and 9 boards for him? And with just over a minute to go, down by 12, this is looking looking gloomy for BW. Baldwin Wallace will take a timeout. So not exactly what the Yellow Jackets had in mind tonight, but give them credit for fighting hard in the second half. After a tough first half, BW's only trailed the second half by 3 points, but you just can't let a team come into your building and shoot 60% from the floor first 20 minutes.
I mean, I don't think you could have expected them shooting 60%, but they definitely have the people to do it, and as a team, you had to be ready for it, and unfortunately, it hasn't gone BW's way shooting the ball tonight. Jake Federoff, just not what we usually expect to see, so there's definitely some things they have to take care of, but Ohio Northern, give them credit. They've been playing great basketball.
Even on a second half where Ohio Northern has struggled a little bit, they're still shooting 46% in the second half, and it's been enough to hold off any BW run. Again, the Jackets have gotten within 6 a couple times, but never anything less than that. We hope you'll stick around for our post-game coverage. We will hear from either Tom Heil or Brian Schmidt after this one wraps up. It's a 12-point game here with just over a minute to play. So we told you the schedule for the Polar Bears the rest of the way. Yellow Jackets also have an interesting couple of games ahead of them. They play Otterbein, who is definitely a winnable game for them. They play Otterbein on the road on Saturday. And they come back here and they play a John Carroll team they would love to avenge their early season loss against. Of course, it is the final season, the swan song for Blue Streaks head coach Mike Moran. He has coached for nearly a quarter of a century in this conference and one of the winningest coaches in OAC men's basketball history. The Blue Streaks won the OAC championship last year, and BW was the first team to beat them last year after starting 21-0. The only other home game for the men will come against Mount Union the following Saturday. Kaminsky's 3 is too short, and this long-range, tough shooting night for BW continues. 9 for 40 from behind the three-point line. So with under a minute to go, Ohio Northern can essentially ice the game with some free throws as Zach Brandy commits his 3rd. Brandy has 13 points on 5 of 7 shooting. He's actually played very well tonight.
Absolutely.
I would say Brandy and Kyle Nader probably the 2 that stand out the most to me, even though Cam Kuhn will finish with a 20-point game. 26 now for Allen, who again has been held much quieter in the second half. But he hits both free throws there, and he's got 27. Under a minute to play. Kuhn hoists. No good. Bruns the rebound, and Diorio dribbles up the floor. At this point, it doesn't look like the Yellow Jackets will foul, though the Polar Bears have to take at least one more shot with about an 18-second difference between game and shot clock. 92-76, the last 8 points in a row belong to Ohio Northern. And make it 11. Rather 10. Foot on the line there as Berger puts it in. Quiring for three. Off the back of the rim. Baldwin Wallace hit 7 3-pointers in the first half. They were 7 for 20 from behind the three-point line. They finished the second half 2 for 22 from deep.
Wow.
And the team starts shaking hands before the final horn blows. Final score tonight in impressive fashion. The Ohio Northern Polar Bears 94, the Baldwin Wallace Yellow Jackets 76. Tough loss for BW. That loss drops them to 4-9 in conference. They're 9-11 overall. Ohio Northern already eclipses their win total from last season, now 13-7 overall. They're 11-2 and remain at the top of the OAC. Pending Marietta's outcome, they may still be tied for first, and it looks like John Carroll will still be one game back at the end of the night. We'll come back with some final stats, and again, hoping to hear from Tom Heil and Brian Schmidt shortly on BWYellowJackets.com. Some final numbers for you tonight as Ohio Northern comes to Baldwin Wallace and plays one of their most impressive games of the season with a 94-76 win. The Polar Bears shot the ball 54% from the floor, and even in a challenging second half, they were able to take care of business on the road. This was a dominating win by Ohio Northern, Eric. They had an impressive night. They played 7 guys, which isn't a surprise. That's kind of actually what we expected coming in. But everybody contributed, and nobody more than Devin Allen.
Yeah, Devin Allen had a great night. Even after a not-so-great second half, he still managed to shoot 7 of 14 from 3, which is still a pretty incredible feat. 8 of 15 from the floor overall for 27 points. Ryan Bruns, another great player. He finished with a double-double with 18 and 10. And Joey Diorio had a very nice second half as well, finished with 16 and 7.
Ryan Bruns, that double-double, that just made such a big difference. He was the toughest guy on the floor to guard all night, and I think it's because he set the tone early. Yeah, Devin Allen hit all those threes, but when you get a big man that scores 6 of his first 7 baskets from the floor in the first 10 minutes of the game, and he's getting looks from inside the circle, you're establishing something early on, and that definitely was a backbreaker.
You're absolutely right. It opened up, I would say, Devin Allen's great shooting night. He got off to a great start. I think it was 5 for 5 before he even missed a shot. So it opens up the whole offense for Ohio Northern, so it was great to see.
BW got some points tonight, and that certainly is a good thing. Saw a nice night from Cam Coon. He had 20 points on 6 of 17 from the floor. Brandy finished with 13. I thought he played well. 13 points from Michael Quiring off the bench, including 3 3-pointers. Jake Featherolf had a tough night, and I think it was largely because he was going up against Ryan Bruns. Featherolf was held scoreless tonight. He did grab 9 rebounds, but you don't usually see senior Jake Featherolf held with a goose egg.
No, absolutely not, and he bases his game so much down low that I think Bruns is just so intimidating down there that it just kind of threw him off his game for the whole, pretty much the whole game. So he's a guy that'll definitely get back into it, though. He's a hard worker, and I expect to see him bounce back next game. 22
solid minutes from Mike Kaminsky tonight. Glad to see he was able to play mostly at full health, because Kaminsky is such an important part for Baldwin Wallace's defense. The numbers that jump off the page at me that are probably the toughest to swallow is what BW did in the second half shooting the basketball. They only shot at 29% from the floor, and from behind the three-point line, 2 for 22 after halftime, when they hit 7 of 20 before the first half had expired. I guess sometimes you just chalk it up and say, look, it's not your night.
Yeah, I mean, at the pace the game was being played at, that's where you're going to get most of your shots, especially with Bruns being the defensive presence that he is down low. But, yeah, like you said, unfortunately, it just wasn't falling for them, and it hurt them big time tonight.
Still hoping to hear from head coach Tom Heil or assistant coach Brian Schmidt shortly here on the postgame show, but the team is still in the locker room, so we'll step aside for another couple of minutes until they emerge. Again, hoping to still hear from him tonight. 94-76, the final score. We'll wrap it up shortly if we don't hear from them here on BWYellowJackets.com. We continue our post-game coverage of the Yellow Jackets tonight with head coach Tom Heil. Coach, I know it's a tough one because Ohio Northern shot the basketball so well in that first half. What, in your eyes, was it just one of those nights where you guys couldn't hit some of those shots that I know in the second half, 2 of 22 from the three-point line, just that's not typical BW basketball?
No, I do think we missed a lot of shots, but I think it started well before that. I think, and credit to Devin Allen, I mean, he made some tough ones in the first half, but we gave him some early. And he's, you know, honestly, he's as good of a shooter as there is in the league. He might be the best shooter in the league. And when you give him a couple opportunities to see the ball go in the hoop, you're in trouble. And so then he cranked it up and hit some really tough ones. I thought we were really bad tonight, to be frank, on both sides of the ball. You know, we scored it a little bit in the first half with them, but I think the thing that makes them so hard to guard is how hard they run the floor. It's hard to prepare for. We talk a lot about it, but their post guys run so hard. They put you at a disadvantage and get some number situations early. So that happened. I thought we were on our heels most of the game defensively. I thought they did what they want in the post. They scored it pretty consistently in the post. And I think some of our guys have just been a little inconsistent with some effort and some execution, and have put us in a spot where we're not sure what we're going to get. But our guys kept fighting. I know we're not going to stop fighting, and we got it to be a game there, but they're so good offensively. It's really hard when you put yourself in a hole to force yourself to get stops in a row to get back in a game because they're just so hard to guard. I thought we did that, and it just wasn't quite enough.
Featherolf tonight grabbed 9 rebounds, and I didn't think it was a lack of effort on his part. You know, you mentioned that you thought it just overall wasn't really where you wanted it to be tonight. But the fact that he was held scoreless, I thought maybe says something about the way that Bruns affects, you know, what you want to do offensively. Is it just his height, or is it something else?
Jake wasn't himself tonight. I think a lot of it was on number 33 in white, to be honest with you. And, you know, credit to Bruns, man. He is extremely athletic and long for a guy at this level. You know, you see guys like him playing, you know, some pretty high-level basketball on TV. He can really run. He's extremely long and athletic, and I think he's very competitive. And he did a great job. You know, he affects when you drive in there. He affects guys as they try to finish. He affects the game on a rebounding and offensive rebounding level, and at a really high level. I thought he killed us on the offensive glass. I mean, anytime he was around the basket and they missed, felt like it was really hard for us to rebound. And I think Jake's as good of a defensive rebounder as there is. So I don't think Jake was himself tonight, but credit to Bruns, man. They had a great plan. They made a bunch of plays, and they you know, for 40 minutes, I think they controlled most of the game.
I don't want to talk too much about Ohio Northern because at this point you've got to put these games behind you. But as you start to think about what comes next, you've got a game against Otterbein coming up here. I guess it would be on Saturday afternoon. The season is starting to wind to a close on the regular season front. Otterbein's a team that has had its fair share of struggles. Is there something about this game that you think you can carry to that game and just say, look, we at least did this well. We're going to go down to Westerville and, you know, start to get back on track?
Yeah, I think I thought there were some bright spots for certain guys. You know, I think the thing is, you know, it's really easy to just kind of say, well, you know, we got some young guys out there, which, you know, we do, but we've got to grow up. I mean, we need to find some consistency, and not necessarily just with the ball going in the hoop, just how we prepare to play. I think our energy and our effort on defense and our execution on defense is where it starts. I thought there were some bright spots, some things we've addressed with certain guys. You know, I thought Cam Kuhn was pretty good defensively, one of his better defensive games, and we really challenged him after Saturday where I think he wasn't very good. And I think there are other instances like that. I think Kyle Nader helped us, his energy, and I think Mike Kaminsky plays as hard as anybody. And those guys, I think there's certainly some bright spots. So we just need to keep getting better. And I think it's really easy this time of year to kind of get complacent. And, you know, we are what we are, but that's not how I feel. I think, you know, every day we show up, we want to improve. And, you know, we owe it to our two seniors to approach it that way. So certainly, to answer your question, some bright spots that we can carry hopefully into Saturday. And a team that, you know, the tough thing in this league, man, it's hard to win. Everybody's good. So different challenges, I think, than tonight's game, where tonight's game was really fast. Saturday will probably be a slower game. So we will need to execute. We'll need to defend at a higher level. We'll need to rebound because every possession will probably carry a little bit more value because there won't be as many. But we're excited for the challenge, man. I trust our guys. We got great kids. They're not going anywhere. I mean, they're going to be, excited to play, and we're going to do everything we can for our two seniors to get some to get a win on Saturday.
Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate your
Thanks.
time. All right, final thoughts next here on BWYellowJackets.com.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, so the Yellow Jackets fall tonight by a final score of 94-76 to Ohio Northern, and we'll take this last minute or two to kind of look forward to this game against Otterbein coming up on the road. Obviously, an Otterbein team that Baldwin Wallace played very well against when they played them here, a 76-61 win in a game back just a couple of weeks ago, middle of this past month. I think the Yellow Jackets need Saturday because they need something where they can start to execute at a higher level. Like, Tom talked about wanting to play at a slower pace and try to make some of those possessions carry some more value. Well, Saturday is going to be a good opportunity for that.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Marietta, John Carroll, and Ohio Northern all in these last few weeks, and Otterbein gives them a chance to kind of take a breath, regroup, and give themselves something to look forward to as a team to get back on track. And I think they need to take that opportunity and go full tilt with it and get a win on Saturday.
I mean, I don't mean that as a slant at Otterbein, but
Oh, no.
I think it's fair to say, look, Otterbein is 7-12. They're 3-9 in conference play in last place, and they are not the same kind of team that Ohio Northern presented tonight. Tom said it fairly succinctly. The Polar Bears, 40 minutes tonight. They brought it and played very well. So a tough night for BW, but hopefully they can rebound after an 18-point loss here on their home floor. Our next broadcast of Yellow Jacket basketball will be this weekend, but because the men are on the road, that means the ladies are at home, and they will host the Otterbein Cardinals. It's a 3 o'clock tip here inside Ursprung Gymnasium. For Eric Kwiatkowski and our entire sports information staff, I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and we'll talk to you on Saturday afternoon at about 2:45 when we get underway with our pregame show. Have a great night, everybody.